This is Open Line.
This is the big one, boys. This is the one that brings us back.
Have questions about AFN commercials?
Why do the same ones air all the time?
Why don't we see stateside commercials?
Get them answered by the experts.
This is impossible.
No, it's possible.
Call DSN 389-4595.
See? We're doing it.
Open Line starts now.
AFN infomercials, commercials, spots, whatever you call them, people overseas have strong opinions on them. Funny, cheesy, helpful, condescending, inspirational, insulting, helpful. Depending on the infomercial, any one of these labels could apply. Live in the AFN studios this morning, a panel of experts. And this panel of experts is here to hear what you think. What works with AFN infomercials? What doesn't and why? Hi, I'm George Smith. With me, Paul Waldrop, the man responsible for producing AFN spots that air DoD-wide, Dan Robinson, who produces messages for the audiences in Europe, and the AFN Broadcast Center in California's Chief of Affiliate Relations, Larry Sichter. The Broadcast Center produces spots promoting upcoming TV shows and programming changes. Paul, what good will it do for someone to call in and say what they think of spots? Why should a listener take the time to call in?
George, we're looking for audience feedback. That's why we're here. We want to do a better job of providing command information, and we think the best way to find that out is to talk to the audience directly and hear what they like, what they don't like, and why. That's what's really important, is telling us why. If you just tell us that you hate it or you love it, that's good, but what we really need to know is why, so that we can take that back and hopefully do a better job in the future. In fact, right now we've got 31 of our spots up on your website, or on the YouTube website at www.youtube.com/AFN spots. So the audience can go there, look at those spots, can comment on them, or please give us a call and we'll be happy to try and answer their questions.
Dan Robinson, what are you going to do with the audience feedback you get today?
We'll take a lot of the information that Paul was just talking about, and the bottom line is to make our messages more effective, to make sure that the message we're trying to get out is reaching the people that we want it to get to, or the people that need it. So that's the bottom line, is message effectiveness.
Larry Sichter, some people are going to say they like Spot X and they can't stand Spot Y. How is feedback like that going to help?
Well, it's going to give us insight as to our viewership, our listenership. Hopefully we'll be able to get a better understanding of why people are making those comments, where they live, how they get AFN. That's important to us. And, of course, all that information we get, I will share with Dan and Paul.
Another reason to listen to the show. Later on, Larry has the latest on whether AFN will carry the World Cup, and an announcement on some popular U.S. TV shows that never aired before on AFN that will soon start airing on our military network. So keep listening to the show for that information. We're broadcasting today on Power Network, AFN the Eagle, and streaming live on AFNEurope.net. So if your signal's a little marginal today, you want to listen to us streaming live on the web, go to AFNEurope.net. We do want to hear from you. Call DSN 389-4595 or from a civilian phone 01149 6214 608 5595. Let us know what you think of AFN infomercials. Call, and you could win something to listen to AFN podcasts on from AFIS, an iPod Nano and a $50 iTunes gift certificate. And our second prize is getting to appear in your very own AFN infomercial. I wonder if they could request to be in a spot with you, Larry. What do you think? Would that be a plus?
Well, Paul hasn't even asked me to be in a spot yet, so I'd go for it, definitely.
Well, if you do win our second prize, just imagine what you'd hear from family and friends who see you on AFN TV at the food court. Hey, isn't that you on AFN TV? No, toss me another ketchup packet. Who knows? Reactions like that might be typical. Well, let's get into it right now. Audience reactions to AFN spots.
Hi, this is Nicole from Heidelberg. My favorite AFN commercial would have to be the one with the MC Hammer at the post office. Can't ship this.
Hi, I'm Charles from Vicenza. My least favorite spot is the Can't Ship This parody.
Now, our producer put those two together because it sums up a little dilemma we have in the spot production business. One person said they liked it, another person said they can't stand it. So what does information like that mean to you three who all produce spots and air them on AFN TV. Paul?
First of all, it's typical, and we just can't please everybody all the time, and everybody has their own opinion, and but again, what I'd really like to know is why she really liked it and why he didn't, and because we're always looking for better ways to package command information to get that information across. And so, again, if you're going to call in today, please don't be shy. Let us know why you like them, why you don't.
Yeah, is it the production value? Is it the message? Does the message not apply? Is it those services not relevant where you live? We need to have information about what's the mindset and the quality of life of that person that's viewing that spot, because that gives us insight as to whether the spot's targeting them or not.
And those spots were pre-recorded by one of our stations who asked the audience what they thought of spots in preparation for this show. Dan, here's a caller from Italy with a comment on a Europe-wide spot.
And my favorite AFN commercial is the MBR wrapping one, where they explain the process of getting your car registered through wrapping. I like it because it's funny to watch, and my husband likes it too.
That's neat. That was actually done by USER Public Affairs, and they heard about this guy at the DMV office down there, and they went and asked him if they could do a spot with him, and he said, "Yeah, I'll do it. It's a great spot. It really is."
So he's an actual DMV.
Yeah, and
great!
It's a minute spot, and this guy raps all the way through it, and it's really funny and it's effective. It's very well done. So it's good to hear that.
My producer says the next two callers have a similar concern.
This is Sergeant First Class Don Eggert from Joint Base Balad in Iraq, and I'm kind of wondering, in terms of the PSAs and the news briefs that you provide, if there's any way maybe to do more of a focus on the services and units and what they're doing out in the field, and maybe a little bit less on the PSAs. Some of them I understand make a lot of sense, like the suicide prevention and sexual assault, kind of big command emphasis things. But we get some of these PSAs like, report a dripping faucet or make a checklist before you PCS, that just seem to be kind of silly, and if we could get rid of those, it'd sure make me a lot happier. Thanks a lot.
Hi, my name is Julie. My least favorite spot is the Germany gas card. I don't get why we have to know about the Germany gas card when I'm living in Italy.
Well, some good comments. Basically, why should I hear or see spots that don't apply to me? Who wants to take that one?
Yeah, I'll jump in first, and we'll pass it around.
Okay.
Okay, we'll use the gas card spot as an example. That applies to a good portion of our audience, all of Germany, which isn't all of our audience, obviously. We have Italy, we have the desert, we have Horn of Africa, you name it, Belgium. But it does apply to a large enough portion of the audience where we feel it is good to put that in a regional slot. We could put it down to the affiliate levels, to the individual stations, and do it that way, but we're not hitting as much of an audience as we can by getting that message out across the board. So sometimes you're going to see something that doesn't apply to you, or hear something that doesn't apply to you, but it does apply to someone. It does apply to a good portion of the audience for us to even have it there.
That's what I would say too, Dan. Is the caller mentioned the checklist spot for moving, and it may not apply to him, but it's going to apply to a significant amount of the audience because we're a mobile society, and service members are PCSing all the time, and it's important information. So just remember that, not all spots apply to everybody, and so you don't, if it applies to you, okay. If it doesn't, let it go.
It's just like in the States, George. We have commercials. We don't have the spots like we do here in Europe, and we're watching commercials. Well, I hear there are people that don't need Viagra, so they just ignore the Viagra commercials. Those people that do need it, of course, it'll be interesting to them. So you can't target everybody, and you're appealing to a mass audience. So there's going to be a variety of tastes in that audience.
The sergeant from Iraq had an interesting point, is saying, hey, I'd like to see less dripping faucet spots and more spots about soldiers and units downrange. Reactions to that comment?
I think that's going to depend upon what channel he's watching.
It's true. We have the Freedom Channel, which is channel 26 on the decoder, and that is time-shifted AFN Atlantic specifically for the desert. And, for example, we'll have weapons handling spots, grenade safety, stuff that applies to people down in the desert is on the Freedom Channel. And there's also occasional shout-outs from families and units on there as well.
And I think we welcome the input, Larry Sichter here. If there's a unit that wants to be featured, let AFN know. Let us know that you're out there. This is the kind of thing that we want to do as part of our command information, is to promote the service that our troops are doing and promote their units and get that on the air. So there's opportunity there. So give us that feedback.
And there's a program called Faces of Freedom, which focuses on individuals and units that's aired here in Europe. And we love to have units and individuals, and we focus them in this program. Let's go to the phone lines. Joseph on the line, patiently waiting from Würzburg. Hello, Joseph.
How are you?
Good. Your question, sir.
I just have a comment. I only listen to the radio. I don't watch AFN. And I really appreciate the combat guy in commercials.
I think you're referring to Combat Go-To Guy, right?
Yes, exactly.
Why do you like those spots?
Well, they're ironic and they really get your attention, make you listen all the time. And they're really funny, but they have a good message. So I really appreciate them, and I think that's regarding ACS. And
well, that's one of the most important things that our spot producers take home with them is you remember the name of the client, which in this case is Army Community Service. And
exactly.
So the fact that you remember the client is very important to the client, Army Community Service.
Yeah, and they do a great job, and I really appreciate them, and I use them quite often.
Good. Well, any other comments for us, Joseph?
Well, just probably a local problem, but that's one of the events that they advertise on the radio, and I really am interested in listening to it. And at the end, they tell you the date, and it's already occurred, and as long as 4 days previously. So that's something that you don't probably control. That's only local.
Well, that's something we can control. So you're saying you're hearing some commercials airing on AFN radio, and the events are already over?
Yes, exactly. Mm-hmm.
Okay, and what frequency do you listen to us on, Joseph?
873.
873, and do you tune in AFN Bavaria by any chance? Do you hear that?
When I'm in the area, I do.
Okay. Well, I'll talk to our station commander at AFN Bavaria, and we'll look into that. But
okay.
That's something that sometimes slips by us, but when people like you call and let us know, we take care of it.
Yeah, the best thing, Joseph, is just send an email to afneurope.net. Let us know what's going on, time, date, channel, and we can track those things down when they occur.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thanks for calling.
Okay, have a good day. Right, bye now.
Just like Joseph, you can have your question answered on AFN. Call DSN 389-4595 or from a civilian phone 011-49-621-4608-5595. Paul Waldrop, the man who does the DoD spots. Question for you is, why doesn't AFN air commercials instead of infomercials? I think some of the stateside commercials are really better than the shows. So what's the answer to that question?
The answer, George, is that AFN does not sell soap. In my words, we carry no advertising. We're not allowed to advertise, but we do have a mandate to provide command information. And so that's we get all the programming. Larry, his folks in California get all the programming at very reduced rates, and we strip all the commercials out and then insert the command information.
Is it safe to say that your stuff makes Larry's stuff possible?
Probably to both, but yes.
Absolutely.
Explain that, Larry.
We could not broadcast what we do if it wasn't the fact that we carried command information. We're given those shows in the terms of news and sports. We get all our news and sports for free. We pay a small market fee for some of our entertainment, our primetime shows. But it's the generosity of the distributors, of the networks, of the producers, of the guilds that enable us to put those shows on the air. And the reason we can do it is we're non-commercial. We're only showing our internal information spots. So there's a direct relationship between the entertainment programming that we have AFN and the spots that we air. We could not air the entertainment programming if it wasn't for the fact that we carry AFN infomercials.
Larry Sichter of the AFN Broadcast Center, California. Flew in from the States yesterday, as did Paul Waldrop. Both doing fine, guys. Haven't nodded off on me yet. I appreciate that.
And thank you for the allergies. I appreciate that.
Yes, and for the stiff coffee, too. That's helping.
There are a bunch of I hate or I love AFN commercial social sites out there on Facebook and some other locations. Have either of you tried to find out what exactly people like or dislike about AFN infomercials? Have you looked at any of those sites?
I've looked at them. This is Paul Waldrop from Washington, and I've looked at them. It's some of the comments are fairly strong about why they don't like something, or I should say that they say they don't like, but they don't give us a lot of specifics. So that's, again, why we're here, and what we're trying to do on this trip throughout Germany and Italy is to talk directly to the audience and find out how we can do our job better. In fact, one of the things that we do is, we're always trying to be more creative, always trying to find new ways to approach spots, because the topics don't go away. I mean, drinking and driving is always going to be there. Motorcycle safety is always going to be there. So we're always looking for new approaches, new ways to address these. And we look to the audience for help. If you think you have a better way to approach a topic than what you're seeing or hearing on AFN, we want to hear from you. I'm not guaranteeing that we will take your suggestion, but we would like to hear from you. You may have a very creative idea that we just haven't thought about. So if you let me give you an email address, rtpo-hq@dma.mil. That's rtpo-hq@dma.mil, and be glad to look at your suggestions and see if they can be incorporated.
And Dan Robinson from AFN Europe Commander Information. That also goes for us. If you can go to afneurope.net, we have a feedback forum, and we also have a Facebook page that we check regularly. So if you have ideas or comments, we're more than happy to hear them.
And let me just toss in and say that social networking gives us a huge opportunity. We are monitoring the Facebook sites, and we are interested in what they say. But again, the more information that we can get, the better it is. If somebody just says, I hate those spots, we don't know if they're in the States, if they're a prior viewer, a prior listener, or if they're currently in the active audience. So again, the more information we can get, the more helpful it is to find out why.
You're listening to a live open line on AFN. We know a little bit about AFN, and we have someone on the line now from K-Town. His name is James. Your question, James.
Yes, good morning. Again, my name is James, and I have a question about the Glenn Beck show. You guys are showing this opinionated news show on 7 days a week, and no other show of that type comes on more than 5 days. And so that's my question. And plus, you're not very honest about the scheduling. Your commercial says Glenn Beck only comes on Tuesdays through Saturdays, but again, you show this show 7 days a week, and I was wondering why.
Well, stay on the line. Larry Sichter here can address that issue for you.
Good question, James. The promos that we have on the air do advertise that Glenn is on Monday through Friday. However, on the weekends, we carry a couple hours of Fox News Live, and within those Fox News Live broadcasts, Glenn Beck's show occasionally shows up his weekend show. His weekend show is different from the weekday show. We're promoting the weekday show. We don't actually promote the weekend show because it's not always there. It may show up in a weekend block of Fox News that we're carrying live. Sometimes it doesn't. Fox will put up a special or some other program that's going on. So since it's unpredictable, we don't promote the weekend slot.
Okay, but my point is, if you're providing command information, doesn't it make it look like the command is favoring a Glenn Beck's opinion over the other news shows like a Rachel Maddow or one of the other ones?
Well, we try to provide balance. Rachel Maddow, her show is 5 days a week. We carry Bill O'Reilly's 5 days a week. We can look into that. That's a good point. I don't think Rachel is doing anything on the weekends. I think CNN's got some specials that they do on the weekends as well. So I'll take that back with us.
Okay, that's all I can ask. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you for calling, James. Okay. Next up, we have a caller from Vilsec. Her name is Beth. Hello, Beth. Beth, it sounds like you got the radio on right now.
No, I've turned it off.
Okay, great. Your comment, please.
Well, first I'd like to say that I'm actually pleasantly surprised with a lot of the commercials. Some of them are very creative, and I was always warned about AFN commercials, but I kind of like them. My one kind of petty complaint is there are just too many commercials featuring Roger Brady. I think it's Roger Brady, General, the Air Force General, and Pamela Darrow. There's got to be 12 commercials with him. It's about every hour that I see him, and it's just too much.
Okay, well, you called the right show. Dan Robinson is our Chief of Command Information for AFN Europe, and Dan, what about that? The viewer, listener says too many.
Well, the bottom line, when we have spots like that, USAFE has a message to get out, and General Brady feels the best way to do that is address him directly, as he would his own troops. They do have a wide variety of messages. They're fairly prolific spot producers, but these are hot command topics that they do want to get out. So it may seem a little repetitive, but it is important stuff.
I think the message is lost when one person is constantly throwing it at you. And I think that they need to rethink that, because I do understand where he's coming from. And I do understand the importance of some of these younger troops needing to be told, what I consider at my age to be pretty basic things. But when one person is constantly bombarding you, I start to wonder, I question him. I wonder, does he have a job that has an actual, mission importance? When he's telling me the teachers are great and to buckle my seatbelt and all that kind of stuff. So I just think the message needs to get to him that it's just too much. They need to pull back.
And Beth, the question for you would be, say we hired you and you're working for AFN Europe right now and you're producing spots. What method would you suggest that he use to communicate those messages to the audience in Europe?
Simply less, because I think one thing that I noticed, and I have some experience in theater, is that those messages that he produces are very well produced. You've got some AFN commercials that are really kind of chintzy, and I love the chintzy ones because it means the money's going to my husband who's downrange, right? When I see General Brady and all those really well-produced commercials, I question the dollars. And I know that sounds kind of silly, perhaps.
That's an interesting point. It really is. We have to look into that. Maybe we have to be less slick with General Brady's commercials.
Less slick, and really honestly, I don't need him to be my father. It's too much. And there's a general down, and I can't remember his name, but there's somebody in Africa Command.
General Ward, I believe.
I'm not sure, but I know that there's about 2 spots with this man, and he's talking about what they're doing there. And I use him as the comparison because he's telling me real stuff that my dollars are going to do in his command. General Brady, God bless him, is telling me how to live my life. And that can be resented. And like I said, I'm older, so I take it with a grain of salt. But I don't think the younger people really need to be preached to that much, especially from one person.
Good feedback.
It is. Yeah. This is the kind of stuff we need to really help tailor the message and help the commands as well, because if the message is being lost, then we need to re-examine that.
And we as producers also have that obligation to work with the talent and to instruct them as to how a message is crafted and what may be more popular with the audience. So this is good things that we can take back to General Brady.
Right. I think always keep the term preaching in your mind. We don't want to preach to these people. We are all adults here. Even the youngest of us, we're all adults, and we don't need to be preached to.
Very good.
Beth, thank you for calling us. Thank you very much.
Yeah, I produced the General Ward spot, so I like that one.
That's the kind of feedback, Paul Waldrop here, but that's the kind of feedback we're looking for, and that we appreciate that, Beth.
Yeah. It really is, because we'll share that information, and I'm sure people from the various commands are listening right now to get a few tips on how to better improve their messages.
And there's an ebb and flow to it. Some commanders use the media better than others. Some are savvy at it. Others, it's an opportunity for them. So these are lessons learned that everybody can take home.
But in general, the point that she made about preaching, we have a lot of topics that are difficult to get the point across sometimes, and so how do we do that without preaching? Is it do we cut back on the number of airings? Do we make the approaches more lighthearted? How do you approach some tough topics without being preachy?
And what I heard her saying is the General Ward spots work because he's talking about his lane and his area as far as the mission of Africa Command. But when General Brady talked about seatbelt safety, then she, in her opinion, thought that wasn't as focused as, say, the General Ward spot. So very specific, particular information. We're going to go back to the phones. Joseph from Loungestool on the line. Hi, Joseph.
Hi.
Your question.
My question is that the other day I was watching the AFN Family Channel with my children, and a domestic violence spot came on, and it was so graphic that it scared my children. My son is 7 and my daughter is 10, and at the end of it, the last thing they showed was the man raising his fist up towards his wife, and it really scared my children. And it caused us to have a conversation about it, and I think my children are a little too young to actually be seeing that thing, and I think it was inappropriate to have it on the Family Channel at a time that my children would be watching.
Well, Joseph, this is Paul Waldrop from Washington, and I agree with you. I'm surprised, and we'll go back and look at that. I just am not sure why the domestic violence would be on the Family Channel, but we'll.
Joseph, what time were you watching?
This was maybe between 8 and 9 Saturday night.
Yeah, 8 and 9 Saturday night. Let me explain how the Family Channel works. The Family Channel, the programming during the day, up until about 3 o'clock in the afternoon, is targeted at preschoolers.
Correct.
When those preschoolers, when their siblings start arriving home, we start aging the programming so that there's programming available for more older children. By about 7 o'clock, 7:30, 8 o'clock at night, we are targeting 16, 17, and 18-year-old children with shows like Degrassi High, with Beverly Hills 90210. At that point, that is not appropriate viewing for 7 or 8-year-old children. We're trying to serve the entire family, and the age range of the programming on AFN Family is 2 to 17. But those shows in prime time are targeted at the older teens, and a violence spot on there is something that we can look into whether it's appropriate, but we are going to be putting on more spots that are targeted at older teenagers.
Yeah.
Now, the way that we schedule spots on AFN Family is by exclusion. We are very, very cautious about making sure that the spots on AFN Family are appropriate for the demographic that's watching, but please understand that that demographic matures as the day progresses.
Understood, and I don't let my children watch those older shows,
right.
But something like So You Think You Can Dance, which I think is appropriate for my children.
Mm-hmm.
And, I mean, my family likes to dance. We like to watch those types of shows. That's something that I think you would have to take a look at and think maybe that's something that the whole family might look at. The drama shows with the teenagers, I understand that they don't watch that, but something that's more family-oriented, which I think that one is, I might be wrong for some people, but I think that was just a little too much.
Well, I think, again, Paul Waldrop here, just to follow up on what Larry said, when we're showing the teenage programs, I mean, you may see something on dating violence, which is very age appropriate. Now,
right.
the particular spot that you mentioned, I'm familiar with that, and I don't think that should be airing on Family, and I'll look into that. But you may see things that are very appropriate for that 15 to 18-year-old audience that deal with real life situations that might not be appropriate for the age of your children.
And you raise a good point about the way that some spots are produced. Perhaps there's a way to make a more positive statement, even though it's a negative subject. Are there spots, or is there an approach to production that we could take that looks at it in a less dramatic way instead of a you statement, a we statement? So we can take that back as well.
Okay.
Thanks for that very specific feedback. Thanks for calling.
Thank you, Joseph.
And that brings up a good point, Larry. We've had feedback that some of these things are just so negative, so we've made a very conscious effort to put a positive spin, a call to action, if you
will. There was a great seatbelt commercial I saw a while back. It was on the internet. It's too long for us to air. It's like 2.5 minutes, but it showed a family holding the husband. He was doing like a simulated driving in his living room, and the mother had her arms around like the shoulder belt, and the child had her arms around like the waist belt. Talk about a positive way of reinforcing seatbelt use, showing a man with his family holding on to him to protect him from a crash. It was a great spot, and it was an education to us because it showed a negative subject in a positive way. So we can take that back to our producers and say maybe we can approach some of these subjects in a more positive vein. And there's one more point of that, is that different audiences have different ways of receiving messages. Some audiences react to being told to do something. Some audiences react to hearing that their friends are concerned. So I think what AFN tries to do is bring messages with a variety of approaches, because there are different segments of the audience that react to different ways of being told information.
We'd like to hear what you think about AFN infomercials. Call DSN 389-4595 or from a civilian phone 011-49-6214-608-5595. On the line now from Ansbach, Kevin. Hi, Kevin. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
You might want to turn down your radio just a tad, or you'll think, wow, I'm in an alternate universe here.
Yeah, sure. Good morning.
Good morning. Your question.
My question has to deal with all of the commercials, the safety messages, the ordnance, ammunition that's hitting targets, and the safety messages about the grenades and stuff. Those kind of safety messages for us guys that just get back. In my opinion, is we like to come home and kind of decompress from that kind of stuff. But in between shows, we're faced with those kind of things again. What's the overall purpose or the idea behind those kind of safety messages?
Okay, before we go to our experts to answer that question, help us frame this just a little bit. So you're a soldier or a military person who recently deployed and came back here to Garrison?
True, yeah.
And so you're wondering why you see these safety messages that were appropriate when you're downrange, but you think are not appropriate right now.
Now, we'd like to come home and decompress, spend time with our family and watch TV. But then I come home and I'm looking at this kind of message, and it's like a little confusing.
Okay. Well, keep listening, and we'll have our experts answer that question. Who wants to field that one?
That's a tough question. I certainly understand coming back and wanting to separate yourself and be with your family, but those safety messages are, again, as we spoke to earlier, are important for those people who are still downrange and watching the same TV that you are. So it's difficult to separate those out, but something we can certainly look into.
Larry Sichter, AFN Broadcast Center.
I would say, Kevin, this is a challenge that we're looking at. All of us here in the studio working for a new organization called the Defense Media Activity. The purpose of the Defense Media Activity is actually to craft the DoD message. And there's a variety of ways of getting that message out, television being one of them. We've had serious discussions about this. Is if somebody comes home to watch entertainment programming, should the spots that they watch be as entertaining as the programming? I, for one, say absolutely. I would like them to be able to decompress and watch that evening show and be as entertained by the spots as they are by the show, and not be distracted back into a work environment. Maybe those safety spots or the ordnance spots, maybe there's a way of getting that message and information out in another way in addition to broadcast, so they would be more appropriate and then make that television viewing experience more positive for you and the family.
Yeah, thanks for your time, John.
Okay, thank you for calling. On the line, we have Brennan from Stuttgart with a question, I believe, about radio. Hi, Brennan. Can you hear me, Brennan?
Yes, I am.
Yep, please, your question.
Oh, okay. Hey, I've been stationed here in Germany for over 6 years now, and one thing that I really enjoy about AFN is the afternoon radio show. I listen to PowerNet all the time. And the problem is that all the songs that are being played on there are only one channel of a stereo signal. Therefore, we're missing lyrics sometimes or guitar lines. We're not hearing the whole song that's being broadcast over AM, because it should be a mono signal going out over AM, not a stereo signal, which is with only one half of it.
And what's the frequency you listen to?
I listen to 1143 right now, but it's, as I've been around Germany, it's everywhere.
Is this off a decoder, or is this off a radio, or?
This is the radio in my car. On the decoder, you get the full signal, because
yeah, he's talking about over-the-air radio transmitter.
Okay.
Yeah. So that is a good question, and what it is I'll talk to our technical staff about that. But you, whenever we have issues like this, the best thing for you to do is to call up. In your particular case, the station that serves you is AFN Heidelberg. And if you go to afneurope.net, there's a link there for AFN Heidelberg, And the person that needs to hear about this is Sean Sattel. He's the chief engineer of AFN Heidelberg. And once I'm going to make a note of this and share this with him so we can look into it. But basically, we need to fix it. I need to talk to one of our technicians who can see what he can do. And especially since we add more music shows to Power Network, it's critical that we have a signal that you can listen to that's not dropping one channel.
Great. Thank you, sir.
Thank you for your call. Rodney from Vilsec. Hi, Rodney.
Hello.
Your question.
Actually, I was calling about the TV show you guys have on The Office.
Right.
And whenever I watch it, I notice that all the commercials seem to be condensed to the end of the show. When you're watching the show, like normally any other TV show that's a half-hour sitcom, they have the commercial breaks built in. And AFN, what they do is they only do like a 30-second spot, and then it's right back into the show. So the show seems to end like 20 minutes or 10 minutes early. I was wondering if there could be any reason why they do it this way.
Larry Sichter here from the Broadcast Center. We're basically running the programming out of an automation system, which means that we're covering the commercial avails that exist within that program. So however it comes to us from the distributor is how we're loading in the spots. So if there's a cluster of commercials more than at the end of the show than in the beginning, that's how the show aired in the States, and that's where the stateside commercials were that we're covering with the CI spots that we put on. So there's not much we can do about that if that's the way that the show format was built by the provider.
It just seems to me The Office itself is a very kind of short program. They have probably lots of commercials in the States if you were to view it there. But it seems like AFN only puts smaller amounts of commercials, like shortened spots. And
what night is The Office on?
I believe it's on Thursdays.
Ah, that explains it. Got it. Okay. Thursday night is we run a 10-minute CI block. So we are taking the commercial load on Thursday night in the programs in the first hour, and we're shrinking it a little bit to enable our stations to get a 10-minute CI block. So the commercial load for that first 2 hours on a Thursday night is exactly the same in terms of the total minutes, but we've compressed those shows a little bit to allow for that extra 10 minutes. Because I think you'll notice that about 7:50 is when there's a 10 minutes command information break that comes on before the 8 o'clock show. So in that case, we are doing that purposefully in order to get that 10-minute CI spots that our affiliates have asked for. That's what's going on there.
That's where Dan Robinson from AFN Europe Command Information, that's where Faces of Freedom and the Europass shows are plugged in, or if we have a 10-minute special, we use that slot.
Yeah, we have to get that space to run Face of Freedom out of somewhere, so we're compressing the shows slightly. So maybe we can do a better job at the way that we're compressing The Office.
Okay. Yeah, that's the only thing it seems to me is that that block seems to get built up right around The Office. So
we'll take a look at that. Maybe we can do a better job. But hey, Rodney, one thing. July 8th at 1900 CET is we have the Office, the delivery, the special 1 hour episode with Pam and Jim dealing with the impending parenthood. So I hope you catch it.
All right, sounds good.
Okay.
Well, thanks for answering my question, guys.
You're welcome. 9:43 Central European Time. Your host, George Smith here, and on the line, DJ from Stuttgart. Hi, DJ. You have a question about drug commercials, my producer tells me.
Well, that was one of them, but I wanted to end on a good note. I have two bad and one good.
Okay, hit us with both. And turn down your radio a little bit because it'll probably sound confusing if it's too loud.
Yes, sir.
So, your comments, please?
I have a negative comment for the medical staff commands who come in and tell the teenagers exactly which drug to look for on the back of the over-the-counter drugs so they can go home and try them.
I'm not sure which spot you're referring to. Could you be more specific? Is this a spot you're seeing on AFN?
Yes, I live in the Stuttgart area, and there's a very nice nurse who stands up and says, we're having a problem with teens using over-the-counter drugs, and she gives the exact drug for the teen to go look for. I'm going, well, I didn't know that drug myself personally could be used for that purpose. And now she's just told the teens, who are most of them smart enough to use it and write it down, to go learn how to try it if they haven't done so already.
And Dan Robinson from AFN Europe Command Information, those were specifically requested by the UCOM Quality of Life folks. But that's a very valid point.
That's
a very good point. And
I don't mind them telling them not to use drugs or making parents aware and saying come to medical, we'll have some leaflets for you. But to give the teenagers the name of the drug over AFN just does not seem like the most logical way to get the problem solved.
Not part of the command information program you'd prefer, I guess.
Yeah, I'm familiar with the spots, and I'm in regular contact with the Quality of Life folks, and I will certainly address it with them.
Thank you for that, DJ. That's a good one.
Yeah. And you had another comment, DJ.
Oh, well, for the silly part, I thought the motorcycle commercial for personal protective gear, where the gentleman at the end gets on the little kid's toy in the park and then falls on his face.
Yeah, that was a U.S. Air Force's Europe
that
spot.
One was stupid. I mean, the message is great to use your protective gear, and as a Harley rider, I totally agree with it, but I just didn't think it was well presented for the guy to get on such a children's item and fall on his face.
Dying is easy, comedy's hard.
But the good note is that the gentleman who is at the roadside stand with the apple scrapes the apple on the ground and shows how easily our skin can get wiped off on that ground. That was an excellent commercial. It was informative. It showed how tender we are and how easily we can be damaged if we don't use our protective gear. So I love that commercial, and I wanted y'all to know it.
Thank you, DJ. As a fellow Harley rider, I can agree with you on that.
And DJ, Larry Sichter from the Broadcast Center, this speaks to the variety of messages that audiences respond to. So, we'll present motorcycle safety in several manners, and some messages hit home and speak to you, and that's the goal, is to get something through. So thank you for those comments.
I guess the guy being silly on the children's gear worked because I remembered that it was personal protective gear. So on that point,
but it didn't motivate you to get on the child's toy and go back and forth, though, right?
Dubious
Absolutely not.
DJ, thanks for the call.
Whoops.
We chopped her off just a second, but I think she was going to say something like, have a nice day.
Hopefully.
But that was good, meaningful feedback. Gents, I've got a fistful of emails. We've also asked our audience to send in emailed questions to us. I have about 10. I'm going to go through a few quick ones here because we have Mike from Onspach on the line. Mike, stand by. This one is a question from Bob, and actually it's a suggestion. AFN should limit interruptions to a single break at the halfway point of the movie. He's referring to command information interruptions in the movie channel. Larry Sichter, you want to talk to that one from the Broadcast Center?
I'd love to. We appreciate that comment from Mike. On the movie channel, we're running the fewest amount of command information spots, and the strategy is that we take a spot break after the first hour of the movie, and then we'll take the next spot break is after the next half hour of the movie. So if you look at a 90-minute movie, which is a short one, you're only basically getting 2 spot breaks in there. We have to get some spot breaks in there. Limiting it just to 1 in the course of an hour really doesn't give our affiliates the time they need to get their spots on as well. So we appreciate the suggestion. We can go back. We know the popularity of the movie channel. But in all likelihood, I think what we've got now is what we're planning keeping, of just basically delivering that first spot break after the first hour of the movie.
Question from William. And his question is, I occasionally see movie trailers for films showing in the AFIS theaters on AFN. My question to you is, why don't you air individual promos for movies that are airing throughout Europe, trailers? Why can't you play those on AFN Europe to promote the films, Larry?
Great question. In fact, we just got that back at the Broadcast Center about 2 weeks ago, and we're starting to share those movie trailers that were coming exclusively to the Broadcast Center. We're sending those out now to the affiliates for local promotion. If the movie is playing in the theater, the affiliates can grab the promo and get it on the air as well. So you're way ahead of us. We're in the process of fielding that activity as we speak.
9:49 Central European Time. Dan, you have an add-on comment on that?
Yeah, Dan Robinson from AFN Europe. Our Entertainment Watch producer, Lori Cerna, is already planning on pulling clips in to use in for radio to promo the movies that are playing in the AFI's European circuit.
Great. So it's working.
Some good stuff in the works.
Expect that soon.
Back to the phone lines, Mike from Anspach. Hi, Mike. You're live on AFN's Open Line, Mike.
Yeah, I'm here.
And we are too. What's your question?
Okay. It concerns the actors or actresses for some of the spots. There's one spot with a young girl who is getting to go space A by herself. She says, "Oh, I'm turning 18. She's really happy about it, going to visit her friend in Italy. The same girl shows up in a different spot wearing khakis, which I would assume is senior enlisted for Navy.
Boy, you've got a sharp eye. Keep going.
Okay, is she 35 or is she turning 18?
Mike, this is Paul Waldrop from Washington, and to be really honest with you, I don't know. I'm really familiar with the spot, the Space A spot, and I did not realize that the same actress was used as.
It's a weight loss. The petty officer comes on and says, "Oh, I'm trying to lose weight, and it's good to lose it at a pound a week or whatever." And I looked, I really wasn't paying attention, and it glanced up, and it's the same girl, the same smile, the same haircut.
I will check on that. If you're talking about the weight loss spot with the Air Force woman in it,
no, it's Navy. She's wearing khakis.
Okay, I'll have to go back and check that to be.
Take a look at it because it's this. So I was just curious: is she 35 or is she turning 18?
Well, we'll find out and get you an answer.
Paul, you have any slots in your staff available for quality control experts?
I don't
think
know.
we got one here.
I think so, but that's a sharp eye, Mike, and we appreciate that kind of feedback.
It's just,
Thank you.
It was, I was just I said, what? No, that can't be. And the next time it came on, I as soon as I heard it, I watched.
I love it.
Okay.
Same girl.
Well, I'll tell you what. We'll look into that and we'll pick one. How's that?
Yeah, but she's cute as the 18-year-old. She's bubbly.
Well, who knows, Paul? Maybe you could turn this into a Where's Waldo kind of thing.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, we could put her in several spots. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Thanks very much for the feedback.
Okay.
Robert on the line. Robert is our first caller this morning from Spain. Hi, Robert.
Yeah, hi. How are you doing?
Oh, I'm fine. I can't speak for the others, though. How are you guys doing?
We're great. Wrestling with allergies. Thank you.
Larry's got pollen in his body, but other than that, we're doing fine. How may we help you this morning?
Well, the biggest complaint I got is about 9 months ago. You must have changed a bunch of people in Atlanta there somewhere because they haven't been able to keep the volume levels equal between Channel 7 and the rest of the channels.
Okay. Are you talking radio or TV?
I'm talking both, but especially TV because, I'll switch to Channel 7 after halfway through a movie, and the volume will be so high my wife will scream because it wakes up the baby,
Ooh. Where exactly are you in Spain? Are you in Rota?
Yeah.
You're in Rota, Spain.
And Channel 7 is the AFN movie channel? Larry Sichter here.
No, 7's it's the schedule channel, the one
Program
that gives
guide.
all the
Program
different
guide.
schedules.
Yeah, it's the program guide.
Yeah.
Have you been in contact with our local station at Rota, AFN Rota, by any chance?
It has nothing to do with it. I'm picking it up satellite, so it's your satellite send from Atlanta that's screwed up. And it's only been in the last 8 months, so you must have changed staff somewhere along the line.
Are you saying you get the signal by decoder, direct from decoder?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Okay, well, Atlanta, we have nothing in Atlanta. The signal comes out of Riverside, California, and then is downlinked in Mannheim and Vicenza. And you're getting the signal straight from Mannheim and Vicenza. I'm not sure which channel the program guide is coming off.
On 7.
On 7.
Channel 7.
No, I mean, is it Mannheim feed or is it AFN Vicenza feed?
I believe that's us.
That's okay. So what we have limiters on the channels at the broadcast center so that everything is compressed and sound is equal. So we have to look in the technical path here and see if any of the uplink stations between the broadcast center in California and Mannheim, if there's a limitation problem, if an audio limiter is not correctly functioning.
Let me jump in and give you a possible technical solution for this. What I'd like you to do is, did you call us by DSN or did you call us by commercial phone?
No, commercial, of course.
Okay. What I'd like you to do is call the same number you just did call, except for the last 3 or 444, and talk to our AFN Europe Network Operations Center. What we have there is a group of trained technicians who they'll talk to you about the specifics about what you're hearing, what's messed up, and then they'll find the right people to fix it. Is that something you can do?
It's costing me a lot of money. I just thought you guys had sort the problem out because, someone must be watching this thing, Dakota, and if it's affecting us here, it's affecting the guys in Iraq.
Okay.
Well, so, you guys can deal with it. It's not my issue. The only other thing is, for the radio side of things, I think you should be getting a good news program between 7 and 8 in the morning. Some of us get up early,
Yeah. Well, you make a good point. What I'll do is, you're right. You corrected me in something that I should have known better on. I'll talk to them, and we'll work this out as far as the technical problems going on in Spain. So my apologies, sir, for just saying send you off to somebody else.
Technical problems with your satellite, not Spain. It's got nothing to do with Spain.
And news program?
It's a direct feed from whatever your satellite's doing.
News program on radio or television?
No, I'm talking about the TV shows is with the volume is the one I'm worried about.
Okay,
the radio show, there could be something with more news, even if it's on TV. Because I usually watch the TV in the morning at 7, and when there's nothing on, it's just rubbish. I'll turn to the radio station just to hear the news, and there isn't much on between 7 and 8. It comes on after 8.
Good. We'll take care of it. Thank you very much for calling us, and we'll look into it. As soon as we're done with the show, I'll talk to our technicians.
Cheers.
Thank you, sir. We have about 4 minutes to top of the hour news. A few more email questions here. This one is from Keith from Heidelberg. An interesting idea is basically saying with the NBA Finals going on right now, this is a programming question for Larry Sichter. Why is AFN not putting the NBA Finals on AFN radio? Larry?
We will be putting the finals on when we get down to the game-deciding contests. We made a change several years ago of only putting on the major sporting events. Unfortunately, we can't carry every game of the NBA Finals, but when it comes down to whether the game is going to call the tournament or not, we'll be carrying it. So look for that on AFN Radio.
And when you say we'll be carrying it, means the AFN Broadcast Center will offer it to networks around the world. AFN Europe traditionally will carry programs like that on its Power Network radio service here in Europe.
Correct.
Here's another part of the same question is, and this is from, his name is Keith Arnold, and he says, hey, how about a 1-hour special of some of the old AFN commercials and funny moments from then to the present? It would be great to show the audience how far AFN TV has come. Dan Robinson, what about 1 hour of the very best of AFN infomercials?
Yeah,
you think the audience will tune it in?
That's not the first time it's been batted around, and I like the idea because I've been with AFN since 1983. And I remember a lot of the old favorites. The problem is when AFN headquarters moved from Frankfurt to Mannheim, a lot of those were lost. There was a lot of they were all on tapes, and tapes age.
And different tape formats.
We have one machine left that can still play the old tapes, but they tend to crumble as soon as you put them in. And digitally, they've only been archived since about 2002. So I'd love to do something like that. It's really just an availability issue, trying to reach back for the oldest ones that we just no longer have, sadly.
We're coming up on news, top of the hour. I'm going to answer this question because I happen to know the answer for it. This person says, in the Kaiserslautern area, AFN FM is broadcast on 100.2. The frequency is not compatible with many U.S. specification car radios. What can you do about it? Answer to that is we're in negotiation with the European countries to try and get a U.S.-friendly frequency in the Kaiserslautern area, but that takes the approval of not only the German government, but the French government and other European governments that are nearby. It's our concern too, sir. We are trying to get a U.S.-friendly frequency in the Kaiserslautern area, but it's not just our vote that counts. And if you have a question for us, we're going to break for news. Give us a call at DSN 389-4595 or from a civilian phone, call 011-49621-4608-5595. We're on the web streaming, afneurope.net. News next. We're going to join you again at 5 after the hour.